so on and so on. So one of the other officers went and picked out the gun, and also he found a decent sized samurai sword, which is part of my collection. All these things were going to be removed from the van, but as usual, it's always too late. Anyway, no problem. All was good. They took all this out, took photographs of it all, and said, "Oh, you have a license for the gun?" And I said, "Yeah, I do actually." And he said, "Oh, where's that?" And I said, "Well, it's not here at the moment. It's back in a container, all locked away with the rest of the gear." Oh, okay. So we can't see that to prove who you are then. I said, "Well, you can't prove who I am anyway, because it's Crown property anyway." So I said, it's not me again, and also I said it's Crown property, so I don't want anything to do with it. It's not my business. Anyway, one of the young officers that got the gun, he come back at me later, because I actually produced my birth certificate. So you might ask, why the hell am I got a birth certificate and giving it to the policeman for identification? Well, the point is, it was all evidence as far as I'm concerned. So you may have seen it before or not, but that's my birth certificate that I showed him. Note that the nice lot of red wording on it. Also, instructions on the bottom which says you cannot use this as warning. This certificate is not to be used as evidence of identity, which I pointed out to the officer. Anyway, then he thought he might try something out, so he said, "Oh, it says here you were, you sir, were born on the 3rd of September, is that right?" And I said, "No, that's not right. It's actually the registration date of a corporate fiction dead entity." To which he was a bit silent. Well, anyway, he's got the idea. Both the young cops were sort of a little bit taken back, and also I could see they were having a little bit of a grin about it all, and I could see that their minds were starting to tick over, which was nice. That's all I wanted. Anyway, at this point, Sarge comes back with a few more charges, of course. You know, we've got a you haven't adhered to the storage details that we're supposed to be doing with your license for this firearm, and so on. He said, "Where was it stored?" And I said, "It was locked away in a container before this period of time, before it was put into the van." Okay, so anyway, I've added another 2 charges now, which have of course been part of the legal, as I said to him, I know this is all legal procedure, and he said, "Yes, that's correct." So then he said, "Now I'm going to read the charges to you, and just to let you know where you are." And as he read them out, he said, "Now do you understand?" And I said, "No." And of course he come back with a smart ass comment of, "Have you got a mental impairment or something, son?" And I said, no, I just don't stand under that statement, Sarge." So at that point we were arrested, and I must say that I was very grateful that there was no handcuffs used. Now, whether this was due to my attitude or I was putting out or whatever, or my energy field, which was very, very calm, very knowing, very in control. And I know all the officers were you know, very, very placid, very calm, very cooperative, and which I was cooperative too. There was no harshness anywhere. The sergeant was the only one that didn't have a smile on his face, but he was doing his duty, I know, and that was fine. So anyway, we said, okay, you're under arrest at this point, so I had to be. He said, oh, the young guy said, okay, let's do a search of the bodily search, and he said, can I do that? And I said, yeah, that's fine, you can do that. He said, I'll try and not be too impersonal. I said, thank you very much. So I mean, I've got nothing to hide, so I'm not going to refuse anything. And whether they class it as being me dropping into a contract because I'm agreeing with what they say is bullshit, because we know that the contract doesn't exist anymore because it's fraud. So I'm quite happy in my mind that to do that, because I know for a fact that it's all null and void anyway. Okay, so we have a little bit of a frisking down, which there was nothing found, only some money in the pockets and so on. And then he said, okay, well, I'd like you to, I'll escort you to the van and we'll take you back to the station. So we were, I mean, I wasn't even touched, because I went along, of course, did the right thing. And we went along to the back of the van, and he opened the door, of course, and I got into this little dog box in the back of the van, which was horrendously small, maybe big enough for two people if they're lucky to squeeze in. Anyway, no problem. We made it back to the station, and then I'll fill you in on the next part as we went to the cell first off.